I'm going to give you some best practices about applying directly to product management positions. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. If you want to know about product management business and how to get into the top tech companies, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of the new videos. Today, we're going to be talking about how to apply for product management positions, some best practices. We talked a lot about the different methodologies for how to apply. You should be using referrals. You should be contacting recruiters. You should be building a professional network. But today we're actually going to talk about just taking the front door and applying to the positions that have been posted on the different company sites or on LinkedIn or any other aggregators of jobs. It's very often that you hear that you should only apply through referrals, recommendations, or you contact the recruiter, or the recruiter contacts you, something like that. So those are all great. Leverage your social network. That's all fantastic. But a lot of times people actually overlook the most basic way of trying to get in is actually applying for an open job position. And I think this is basically undervalued. If you think about it like this, about half the jobs that are out there are generally found through some sort of connections, either personal or professional network or recommendations, referrals, something like that. But the other half are actually through regular applications. So if you're only doing one of those two methods, even if the first method is better, I still recommend, if you have time and if you're early on in your career, I still recommend definitely cold applying as well. But you want to do it intelligently. You don't just want to spray and pray or sort of blast everyone with the same resume. You want to do it intelligently. First, you want to make sure you track your progress. So anywhere you apply, you actually write down the date you applied, the position you applied to, the resume with which you applied. The second thing you want to do is customize the resume a little bit so that it's a better fit for the exact position that you're applying for. This will depend on how much time you've got to dedicate to this, but you can certainly tweak just a little bit with just the titles, or so far as to actually tweak some of the action verbs and include some of the verbiage and descriptions that were used in the job description. Keep in mind though, when you're doing that, when you're reading the job description, try to understand what actually is being called for in that job description. A lot of times the hiring manager that's putting together the job description doesn't exactly know what they want from a position. So they kind of list some stuff, duties, responsibilities, some things they expect to happen because they either haven't gone through the exercise of asking themselves what is it that this person is expected to do, or the exercise of understanding what qualities and skills this person should actually have, as opposed to some surface stuff like X number of years in the business, people skills, and skills in agile development. So because the hiring manager a lot of times doesn't have the time, the patience, or quite honestly, the experience to actually create a proper description, there's going to be a lot of fluff in there and pointless text. Try to see if you can understand, based on what the company does, what the product is, if you can actually understand what the particular position or particular role is all about. If you can, try to identify those 3 or 4 or 5 things that are most important from your point of view for someone to succeed in order to do well in that job, in that company, and try to tweak your resume so that it fits in better with what that requirement is. The third thing you want to do is make sure you're applying quickly as soon as the position goes up, because the competition is going to be fierce, and especially as more time passes, there's going to be a bigger volume of resumes that are going to go in. And of course, this depends on how high profile the company is. The bigger the company, the more resumes are going to come in, and the more important it is to be one of the first. That means you've got to check new positions that are coming in the market every day. Try to apply early in the morning if you can, very early, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. Try to do it earlier on in the week. I talk about this in my other videos, but it's very important to be one of the first, because a lot of times what will happen is the person, recruiter, hiring manager, whoever's reviewing these will come into the office, or nowadays turn on their computer at home and start looking through the emails or the resume or the applications that have come in, and they'll only have time to process 1 or 2 or 3 before they get distracted on some other thing. Think about how your own day goes. A lot of times that's what happens. But if you can be in that 1 or 2 or 3, there's a high chance it's going to be reviewed. And if you do a good job matching your resume to what is required for the job, you get a stronger chance of an actual callback. So that's what I would do. Track your results, customize the resume, be in the early group of applicants. Besides that, you want to make sure that your resume is actually top-notch. You're following some of my other tips and best practices for resume making. We've got other videos that talk about that. You can actually check it out right here. We've got a lot of videos talking about how to make the best resume you can. But assuming you've done that, the next thing to keep in mind is that volume matters here. Because you're applying through a cold approach where you don't know anybody necessarily, of course you're going to want to apply more often. Of course, you're doing everything we talked about earlier, but you're applying more often. You're applying to more positions, and you're going to hear back less often percentage-wise. But if you make up for it in volume, that should be still plenty of responses. Look at it this way. Every day, if you're actively looking for opportunities, you should apply for 10, 15, 20, 25 positions. Nowadays, everything's remote, so you don't have to stay within your area. You can go broader. If you want to be in product management, your level of experience doesn't matter so much as your skill set and what you're bringing to the table in terms of excitement, enthusiasm for the roles. On the plus side, there's a lot more opportunities because you don't have to stay in your location. On the downside, of course, there's a lot more competition. There's a lot more folks that are looking for opportunities. Keep your focus long term. Don't plan to land the best opportunity within the next week or month. Have a longer term outlook and focus on doing the work and putting in the effort as opposed to going from 0 to 1. So if you think about it from 0 to 1 as you don't have a job in product management, you want to get one. If you're thinking of your milestones as your callbacks or your interviews, that might not feel so good. You might not be able to motivate yourself. Rather, think about it in terms of what you can do. And if you can show up on time, which means apply for positions early in the morning, early in the week, and very soon after they come out, and you do that 10 times a day or 15 or 20 times a day, and you do that consistently for a number of days or a number of weeks, applaud that effort. Those are your milestones because it's what you can control. You can't necessarily control who's going to call you back or what's going to happen when they get the resume. Did you hit the right time frame? Did you write the right description? You can't necessarily control that for everything, but you can control the way that you write your resume, when you submit it and how you submit it and how often and how many different positions you apply to. So control all that, do it for a sustained period of time, track your results, and come back after a week and see you've applied for 100 positions. How many have you heard back from? How many of you heard back from with any news? Let's say you applied for 100 positions. Did 10 of them get back to you and tell you that they received your resume? Did 15 come back to you and tell you that they're not interested? Or did 5 come back and they'll get back to you later? Did a few of them come back and request for continuation? Did a few of them come back and ask for more information or a callback? Track all those metrics and don't worry about benchmarking it to some numbers that you read on the internet. I might say 5% callback, 10% callback is good, 15%. It all depends on your experience level, where you're applying, what kind of job, what your background is, what your resume is, all this stuff. So I would just benchmark it against yourself. So if you applied to the first 100 resumes and you heard back from 2 people, then next 100, if you hear back from 3, that's a significant improvement. So you want to continue in that vein. Benchmark against yourself, track your results, follow the best practices, and you should hear back from a lot more recruiters and hiring managers. Now, that's just one aspect. We talk in other areas about how important it is to build your professional network, to reach out to recruiters, to find referrals in companies. All that's still important to do. We'll talk more about that in other videos, and we have other videos talking on the subject. Today, we talked about the most common way to do it, the front door, which you should not neglect, especially if you're early on in your career and you don't have that social network built out yet. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be building it. You should absolutely be building it, but don't neglect this area as well. If you like this video, make sure to smash the like button as always and comment down below. Let me know how you're doing in your job search or if you have any other questions that you want me to answer. If you want to check out some of the other videos on this channel, we have plenty of other videos. And of course, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of the new videos. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.